What's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you with another episode of the Dive In with Dovin. And I'm excited about this episode because Daniel, my special guest, Daniel Dovinh of the Dovin Group in Marketplace Sotheby is my weekly guest where we dive into everything Seahawks. We talk about what happened last week and we talk about what's going to come this week. And I just got to say, man, we've been talking for a while and we were going, man, we haven't talked about anything positive in a while. Well, guess what? We finally have a win in front of the 12s in Seattle, which hasn't happened since like 2019. That's how long it's been. So it feels good. It feels good. So we got to talk about some, it's rainy, crappy weather right now, but as far as Seahawks weather, world is concerned, it's kind of sunny right now, right?
Absolutely, man. And I actually got to go to the game. It's my first game I got to go to.
Oh, you were there too?
Yeah, I was
All
there,
right.
And so it was the first home game win of this year, so I was super pumped to get it done in the fashion that we did as well. It was fantastic.
That's awesome, man. We got some people in the chat in here. Vegas Eats Speaks says, if Russ comes back versus the Packers, we make the playoffs 100%. Seattle Sports Report in here. Robert Rowett is also in there. Just Snow. Norb, I went to my first Seahawks game Sunday. I looked for you. Oh, sorry, I missed you, man. We were all at the game. All to witness that victory. So, and Wheels, a.k.a. Chucky. So, keep bringing in the chats. We'll try to look at your questions, and super chats, of course, are always welcome. But that was... my first, I want to get your reaction too, but my first thought watching this game, besides the fact that I was going, well, is it just because it's Jacksonville? Besides that, I was thinking, this is kind of what we were hoping to see in that Shane Waldron system. We were talking about, when are we going to see this kind of short passing game, the this and that, and the quick passes? All of a sudden it was like, hey, we kind of saw that, So was this just a one-hit wonder, or is this something to last? We'll get into that in a second. But what was your overall first impression of what you saw in this blowout win over the Jags?
Yeah, I felt like we looked like we were playing Seahawks football. We made the Jacksonville Jaguars look like a college team. And at the end of the day, we got the job done in all three facets of the game. So I would say it looked like some Seahawks football. I like the juice in the stadium. You have Matt Hasselbeck getting in the Ring of Honor, and then we have Mike Holmgren getting the Ring of Honor. So there's good energy in the stadium, and it was just nice to see Urban Meyer get beat up by Pete Carroll's team, and just to see us make them look like a young team, and we look like a veteran team. So it was really nice to see, and Gino was super accurate. Especially in the first half. That was really beautiful to see him in rhythm. And it was really great to see DK and Tyler step up. We had a lot of drops early in the season, and then we were looking at all these other reasons why. But, we were trying to make excuses all different ways. But, when you don't drop the ball, it looks a lot better too. My biggest takeaway, though, is maybe Ethan Posick and the offensive line coming back together. This is really the first time they've been fully healthy. If you think about it, it's all five guys that we were originally thinking at the beginning of the season when we brought back Ethan Posick. So that, to me, is a really good sign, especially with, what our division has going on with the Rams just picked up in Von Miller. I mean, we're going to need all hands on deck. So I like where we're trending.
Yeah, we had some comments already talking about that. Gil Dazon says, what do you think about the Von Miller trade to the Rams and the Hawks situation? And OMF OMFG Google says Rams getting stronger. Today was the trade deadline. Seattle was staying pat. They didn't make any moves before the deadline. So if anyone was hoping we'd make some crazy moves and acquire some huge players, well, it just didn't happen. And it really didn't really have much to give up unless they were going to, go into rebuild mode in the middle of the season, which I didn't think they would because the season's not over yet. So, no big moves here. But, man, the Rams just, getting Von Miller. I mean, into defense that was already scary enough. Are you kidding me? Now you add Von Miller to the mix? I know they're getting... Rams' philosophy is interesting because they're basically going with the screw the draft. We don't need the draft. We're just going to acquire the best guys out there. And I don't know how they keep affording to pay all these guys because they got Jalen Ramsey, they got Aaron Donald. They gave Gurley a bunch of money. They paid their former quarterback, a whole bunch of money, and yet they're still able to get Matt Stafford and Von Miller. I don't know how they work it. I don't know how that cap magic works, but whatever it is, they're getting proven talent, and they're going to be that much more formidable. And I think the Rams right now, they look like the best team in the NFL, if you ask me. I mean, they're not just beating teams; they're killing teams. And we had them for a little bit, but they beat us too. So I don't know. I guess your thoughts, real quick, man, on just this Rams team that just keeps getting more and more stacked.
Yeah, honestly, I think that we always play the Rams pretty tight. I think our division games are going to be really huge this year. And at the end of the day, we can only control what we can control, which is our own team. So to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. I do think long term, it's good for us that the Rams are giving up draft picks. I think they're going all in now.
Right.
That's great for their locker room, their fan base, fantastic. But honestly, I don't really care that much because we have our own problems over here to take care of. I will say, though, that they don't really scare me in the sense that, football's a game of inches. They don't strike me as a juggernaut yet because I don't even know who their running back is. If they short up their running game, then I think we're in terrible shape because then they're like a full-blown squad. But that being said, again, I'm of the mindset that if we can't control it, then why worry about it and complain about it? And last thing I would say is I'd rather peak later in the season than at the beginning of the season because we all know how this goes. There's a couple years back, I feel like the Cardinals started like 8-0 a few years ago and like didn't do anything. And I'd rather go 8-0 in the last 8 games, including playoffs, and like freak out at the beginning of the season like I've been doing than the opposite. And I know it drives fans nuts, but that's the way that football is. Playing once a week, there's just all this buildup. And if you lose, it's like the worst week ever. And if you win, it's the best week ever. Like we're so much more positive this week, Norb, than the last couple of weeks. I feel so much better because we had a killer win. But I do wish that we shut them out, though. I will say it'd be nice. I'd rather go 24-0, but whatever,
Yeah, in the end, the win's a win. The point differential's not that big of a deal. But yeah, it would have been nice. But that onside kick touchdown return kind of made it feel almost like it because they spent like 6, 7, however many minutes getting that one touchdown, and we get it back in like 10 seconds. That was pretty awesome. But the win was a win. It was good to get it. I know a lot of fans. It's funny how fickle fans are. You lose and they're mad at the team. You win against a weak team. Well, it's just the Jaguars. Doesn't mean anything. You know what? We could have lost to the Jaguars. Then what would you be saying, right? So we got to be happy not only taking care of business against the team that we should beat, but we took care of them handily, and they look pretty good doing it. So to add to what you're saying, what I noticed in this game as well was Geno started 14 for 14. And I don't care who you're playing. To start 14-14, that's pretty darn good. But what I liked about it, it was a lot of short stuff, and he was targeting your 2 best receivers, which we'd be wondering, why are they not throwing the ball to DK Metcalf? Why are they not going to Tyler Lockett? Well, he just made this decision. I'm going to Tyler Lockett every single time, and then I'll just throw touchdowns to DK, and that worked out pretty good. So I liked the short passing game. I liked the fact that he wasn't under a lot of pressure early, which allowed him to get those 14 straight completions. And the running game was working. When they did run the ball, well, I should say, when somebody not named Rashad Penny was in the backfield, the running game was working. You had Alex Collins and Travis Homer both with 4 yards plus per carry, and then you have Rashad Penny with this 1 yard per carry average, 7 rushes for 7 yards. So frustrating watching that. But saying on the positive, those things were great to see. And I think, like you said, the offensive line, seeing it really in its initial iteration, if this is the result we get when the offensive line is what it was supposed to be, that's a pretty good sign. But I felt like not only were they was Geno on, not only was he getting rid of the ball quicker, but it just seemed like they were also doing some of those things that we had been hoping to see from the Shane Waldron system, with some of the short crossing routes, the just the quick passes, getting rid of the ball out before there's even any pressure, and it was just felt good, man, and a little trickery in there with a flea flicker, So I just really enjoyed that game in so many levels. Now, and I it's one of those things too where so far the issue has been with Geno. He's doing great when there's no pressure, but when he has to make that play in a clutch moment with 2 minutes left and you got to score, seems like that's been the issue. I guess, we'll find out because the big test is coming around the corner. But any last thoughts on anything positive that you took from this game? Adding on to whatever I just said. I said a mouthful, but I just want to see while we have something happy to talk about. I just want to milk this thing from all it's worth. You know what I mean?
Totally. I mean, there's a lot of great things. Quandre Diggs made Trevor Lawrence pay for that terrible pass. I mean, I was watching it live, and my friend Nino was sitting right next to me, and he was actually talking about how he's going to throw a pick in this moment because of the way he was staring down the receiver. He had that much time to comment on it during the play. And, they're trying to go Clemson, like college football, really deep pass, and he just messed it up. So that was really great to see Quandre. He's trying to get paid. He's shown it in his numbers that he's been consistent, and he showed it in his ability to stay healthy that, I think we're probably going to give him an extension, well-deserved there. I would also say that it was great to see DK get a couple, tough ones. I felt like Tyler Lockett, they couldn't match up with him. I don't know who number 2 is on the Jaguars, but that guy was getting smoked, and DK smoked Shaquille Griffin twice. So that was really nice to see. I like seeing Travis Homer do his thing. I feel like he's made a clear case that he should be above Rashad Penny in the pecking order. Darrell Taylor continues to be a force to be reckoned with, and he's making a few really key plays every game and affecting the quarterback, even if he doesn't sack him. He's making him think out there. So it was really great to see. And the last thing was that the Jaguars looked a lot more undisciplined than us this game. They had a lot of unforced penalties, and the Seahawks played a pretty clean game overall. At the stadium, I felt like we basically had one low-energy drive where we went 3 and out, and I was like, that was a waste of time. Other than that, I felt like we were putting the pressure on the other team. They had a few times where they had 12 men on the field and just were making really boneheaded mistakes, like
delay of games.
Yeah, on both sides of the ball. And I blame that on their head coach. I feel like there's just like not a lot of communication. They're probably really frustrated after having just one game won this year in London. And the Seahawks played as if their life depended on it because as far as football, it's true. Their life did depend on it. So there's a lot of positives to take out of this game. I love that, we're not giving up. It's great to see.
Yeah, well, the other thing I enjoyed seeing too was defensive linemen getting hands on the ball. There were a lot of batted balls in this game, and we've always said if you can't get to the quarterback, at least put your hands up there and disrupt the passing lanes, and you might get lucky. You might tip one up, get an interception, and they knocked down quite a few. So that was just really solid. It wasn't perfect. There was a time I think that Geno got sacked. Like more careful look, I noticed that Ethan Posick did whiff on the block, and he went in pretty much untouched. So that's why he got sacked. But other than a couple of moments, like I said, you mentioned the 3 and outs. I think we had a couple of stalled drives that didn't really pan out. So it wasn't perfect, but hey, you're going to have a couple of bad, series, but they had a lot more good ones than bad. And Geno just looked really, really solid, and just the team moving as a whole. I really love seeing that trick play. We've won that a lot. I don't even think that's a Shane Waldron thing. That's an old play that they used to do with Marshawn Lynch. They toss the sweep or hand off to the running back to the right. He turns around, throws it back to the quarterback, and the quarterback goes deep. And usually we score a touchdown. When Russell Wilson did it, he scored, I think, 3 times doing it with touchdowns. I think to Jermaine Kearse, Ricardo Lockett, and I can't remember the third one. It might have been David Moore or something, but we did it 3 times. I think they all had touchdowns, and then this time it almost had a touchdown to Tyler Lockett to like the 4-yard line. Eventually led to a score, but it's fun. Just a little mix it up. We'll have a little fun out there and give some entertainment to the fans. But that was cool to see. And again, the onside kick for return for touchdown. It's not very often you see that.
No, seriously, that I've never seen that play. I didn't even think that was a possibility because you just never see it. He just caught it, put his head down, and ran right through arm tackles. It was pretty cool. I have to say, now I'm getting distracted by some of these comments. I gotta call it out. Okay, so Dom for lock. You're right. Y'all beat the Jags and think it's a turning point. I agree with you. I mean, it's like not the craziest win in the world, but what else should we do besides destroy the Jags? I mean, if it was a close game or we lost, that would be even worse. So might as well celebrate a win, right? And also Michael is burning me. He's like, can you read that, Norb?
Michael O'Neill. I didn't know if I was going to say anything, but I'm going to say it now. So Michael O'Neill calls out my buddy here, Daniel. He says, I was a real estate agent for years. Can't believe buyers and sellers trust a tatted up dude to help them. Must have young customers. And he adds, Daniel, you need some neck tats. All right, let's hear. I want to hear the defense of this because you are a young guy. You got tattoos. No secret there.
You know what? I don't have anything to defend myself with, but I'll state some facts. The real estate industry right now, it's on average at least 52 years old for a real estate agent, right? People don't work with me because of my age or how I look. They work with me because of the results I bring. So if I help them purchase their dream home or I help them get the best sale price for their property with the best terms, they don't care that I have tattoos or that my ears are pierced. And I'll also say, as we get into 2022, wouldn't you rather work with someone that's really good with technology and social media and can have the speed and the energy in this ever-changing market versus someone that is going to still do wet signatures and wear over large khaki pants? So my question to you, Michael, in the comments is, why aren't you still an agent?
Good question.
Talk to me, brother.
He has the chance. You can respond in the chat. So you kind of okay. So we're waiting for a response on that. Let's see. Dom Furlock. Yeah, you mentioned about. I was going to bring up obviously the big question: is this a turning point? He says, "Y'all beat the Jags and thinks this is a turning point." Laughter. So we are at that halfway point. Well, it's not exactly halfway because it's a 17-game season, so you got to pick 8 or 9 games in. But so we are at that point since we got the bye week. It feels like the halfway point, right? So this is why it can be a turning point, but it's predicated on a couple of things because the next 2 games are going to be against 2 of the probably arguably the 2 toughest teams in the NFL right now. We got the Packers and Lambeau, which everybody knows we haven't beaten them since the 90s. And then we've got the Cardinals, also one of the top teams in the NFL, at home. Now, depending on how those 2 games go, could definitely determine whether this is the nail in the coffin games or 2-week stretch or the turning point. Because you win those 2 games or even win one, like beat Lambeau, the Packers at Lambeau, I think suddenly, tide's turning for a little bit, because these teams, it's hard to look for a team any better than that. Maybe just throw the Rams in there. But I don't know, Daniel, what's your thought? Do you think this could be a turning point? Or are we just looking too much at a win over a team like Jacksonville and just reading way too much into a win over a easy team?
Yeah, I'll say the margin of error in the NFL, I think, is a lot slimmer than people think. At the end of the day, the other team's getting paid too. They do have good players, and they have had close games. Yes, they're not the best team in the world. The Packers are a lot better than the Jags. But at the same time, we've lost several games in a row, and we haven't won at home this year. So you can't get mad at us for being happy when we win at home. I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't think it's an overreaction. No one is saying, okay, we're going to the Super Bowl now, but there's a lot to be optimistic about, especially with Russell Wilson coming back, probably against the Packers. We'll probably get D. Eskridge back. We might get some other pieces back, maybe
Chris
even
Carson. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll say that, who doesn't scare me is Kevin King, Packers cornerback. But what does scare me is Devontae Adams, right? Aaron Rodgers. They have some great pass rushers, but the Packers have been a little inconsistent this year. So this is our chance to beat an NFC team, come back from the bye refreshed, or it can be like, this is just going to be a really, really tough season. We're going to lose a lot of close games. It's just not our year. The other thing I'll say is against the Cardinals, we don't know if they're going to have Kyler Murray, which is a huge deal. So you just never know. I will say, again, the margin of error is very slim, but I do know in that locker room, the Seahawks are still believing 1-0 every week. So as a fan, I'm going to stay positive as well because we're coming off of a win. Sure beats coming off of a loss. So I'm grateful for where we're at, because the optimist in me is like, okay, we've lost 5 games, or there's 17 in the year. We could technically go 12-5, but just one game at a time, But as a fan, I can dream. Why not?
When you think about it, I look back at 2014, not to compare these two teams, but to compare the situation they were at. I remember at that time when we went on that run, when everybody was doubting us and thinking we were done, no playoffs. We were 6-4 after coming off of a loss to the Chiefs and looking like the playoffs were in doubt. And then we went on a 6-game streak to close out the year, ended up 12-4, winning the division, getting a first-round bye. Now, this is a totally different situation, clearly understand, because we're not that team. We've got some major powerhouses in our team. I mean, the fact is, we're still, after this win, we're 3-5, still bottom of the division. We're behind the 49ers still, for crying out loud. They're only 3-4 because they had their bye already. So, and you got two teams that are 7-1, 7-1, 3-4, and here we are 3-5. So aspirations for Super Bowl, yeah, we could probably pump the brakes a little bit, but it is that kind of thing where you look at the small stuff. What are we doing better? I think for the defense, I do feel like we have been slowly turning the corner. And I know Pete Carroll's been saying we've turned the corner. I say we are in the corner and we're turning it. And we are definitely not giving up as many points as we had in the beginning of the year. We're definitely not giving up as many yards. But I think what's encouraging is we're not leaving guys wide open like we were in the beginning. Remember where we were just having like guys with not even 10 yards close to them? It felt like they were just running all by themselves with no one else on the field. So that part feels like the defense is it's slowly moving towards what we want it to be. Is it perfect? No. Are we getting the pressure? Not exactly, but we're getting there. And I feel like the corner play is improving. Trey Brown, now that he's finally in there, I think he's doing a great job, so far in the games that he's played. DJ Reed continues to play well, and Quandre Diggs is, like I said, he's fighting for that contract, And Jamal Adams, while he's still not what we had hoped him to be, he's still quietly doing a good job. Now, is he doing 2 first-round picks good? Maybe not, but he's not exactly losing the game either. So, he's still doing positive things. But I think we just all have such high expectations that it's just hard for us to feel satisfied unless he's getting like 2 picks in a game and sacking the quarterback 3 times. I think, and then people will still be like, oh, it's still not worth 2 first-round picks. But he is doing some positive things. We just still want more out of it. But I feel like we are moving in the right direction. Don't you think? Don't you think the offense clearly had a great game, but it feels like the defense is also, moving in the way we want it to. That's just my feeling.
Absolutely. I mean, I was looking up at the scoreboard and the stats, and I think we were giving up basically 3 yards carry. At one point, it was like 2.9 during the game. And the thing about physically being at the game, you could see the physicality that we were playing with. And that was the most encouraging part, was that Jamal Adams, although he doesn't get a lot of stats, he makes these guys hurt a lot. There was a play where he could have just tackled the guy, normal shoulder tackle, and basically clotheslined him with his left arm for no reason. It was a legal hit, but it was a lot more aggressive than a normal player. And I think that's the part that really attracted Pete Carroll and John Schneider. It's like they like that he's super physical. It was great to see Darrell Taylor in person. He is super fast. He has a lot of twitch muscle. And I would say our offensive line was giving, I was about to say Russell, he's giving Gino a lot of time. And I think it gave Gino confidence that Ethan is pointing out specific things. I think there was a few times where they changed protections because Ethan called out certain things. And, DK and Tyler stepped up, and that's what you need to win in this league. You need your best players to step up, and that's what happened this game. So I don't have a whole lot to complain about. I'm just looking forward to seeing if we can continue this, because at the end of the day, no matter what our record is, you can't tell me any team is looking forward to playing the Seahawks. Like, ooh, that'll be a fun team to play in January or December. It's not fun when it's super cold out and you're getting smacked. There was a stat, I think it was 2013, 2014, where the team's record after the week they played the Seahawks was always terrible. It was 0-1 for 90%.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it's like they got beat up, like their entire soul had been beaten up and had nothing left for the following week, right?
Exactly. And so I think at the very least, we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot. We were very physical and we just executed. We didn't do anything crazy. There was one trick play, but other than that, defensively, there's nothing that unusual. Granted, we're playing the Jags, but again, what do you expect? Do you want us to play down to the opponent? No, you should win 31-7 if you're expecting to be a good team. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what's next.
Well, they did better than I thought they would. I kind of was concerned about that game, and I even in my prediction video before the season started, I think I predicted 34-17. So my score for the Seahawks was actually not that far off, but I gave the Jaguars a little bit better credit. I just thought I was expecting more from Trevor Lawrence, and I don't know about you, man, but my first view, and I haven't watched a lot of the Jaguars play, but I'm not impressed, man. I guess I don't know if it's the rest of the team or what, but Trevor Lawrence right now is just, I don't see what the big deal was about this guy, because everyone was just hyping him like the greatest football quarterback that's ever played the game, and I just didn't see much of it in this game. Now I don't know. What's your thought on that?
I think it's partly coaching. I do think it's partly being a rookie is hard, and I don't think he has the talent differential that he had at Clemson. There'd be times at Clemson where the O-line was just so much better than the D-line they're playing, and their skill players, especially their wideouts, were just so much more talented than some of the teams they're playing, and he had all this time in the pocket to throw 40-yard bombs, But in the NFL, you need to be able to learn how to dink and dunk, and it seemed like their playbook is, no offense to Brian Schottenheimer, but it seems like most of their plays were bootlegs, and for the defense, because they're not scared of the deep ball, they can key in on the short passes, which is what you should have a rookie quarterback do. So it's just very one-dimensional, very bland on offense and defense. And then they had a ton
of screens. It was screen central, those guys.
Yeah, because their O-line couldn't handle us, and there's a recipe for disaster, but it's going to be completely different when you play someone like Aaron Rodgers that's seen everything as far as defensive schemes, pre-snap looks, pressures, and he can throw off, flat-footed, opposite foot, right foot, whatever, and he can actually sling it and stretch the field. And then you have, maybe a future Hall of Famer in Devontae Adams if he keeps going, because that guy. I think he's the one that actually took Trey Flowers' confidence. It was that playoff game, and he just torched him to death. And Trey Flowers was never a world beater, but I think ever since then, I think it was tough sledding. By the way, for the record, Trey Flowers was really good in college, but heck, I think all these guys were good in college.
But I think he was a safety. They converted him to corner, so corner was never really his natural position, if I recall correctly. So the Seahawks have had a habit of doing that, right? Taking guys like basketball players and turning them into offensive tackles, and turning safeties into corners and corners into safeties and all that. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Apparently that one just didn't quite work for him. But all right, so. One thing I wanted to talk a little bit about, feels like it's far in the past, but, since the next two opponents coming up are the Packers and the Cardinals, did you watch that Thursday night game against between the Cardinals and the Packers?
I saw the extended highlights. I did not watch the whole game.
I watched. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched the beginning and most of the end. But it looked like the Cardinals were going to pull that thing off. But then he throws that interception at the end. But and they were playing against the Packers, who they didn't even have Davante Adams. They were missing 2 receivers, weren't they? And yet they still managed to get a win over the Cardinals. So you brought up about the Cardinals having that one year where they started red hot and then they just disappeared. Yeah. I don't know if that'll happen here, but that wasn't exactly the Cardinals' best game. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we're catching them at a good time, and we'll see how it goes. We got the bye, and they'll be playing games this week. But I don't know. What do you think about these teams coming up? Do you think we have a chance against these 2 tough teams?
I do think we have a chance. I think football starts with the line of scrimmage, and to me, the Packers. They usually always have a pretty good offensive line. Their defensive line is pretty good, but by far the Rams are much better on the D line. I think the Steelers are better on the D line for that matter. And then the same thing with the Cardinals. I feel like they have great skill position players. DeAndre Hopkins is insane. AJ Green is awesome. They got, Kyler Murray is a video game player. I mean, he's a cheat code, right? And then they just picked up Zach Ertz, right? Is it Ertz? And then the Rams, I think, are just more stacked from the inside out. I mean, you got Jalen Ramsey on one side. You got Brockers in the middle and Aaron Donald and now Von Miller. And then you have a great offensive line. You got Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford. They're super stacked. So right now, the Cardinals don't really scare me because who do they have on their team that has a lot of playoff experience? There's really not a lot of history there to bank on that. And I feel like there are other coaches in our division that are better than Cliff Kingsbury. And that's just been based on record and strategy. So right now, I think I put more oomph in the Packers. I think that the Packers are a little bit scarier to me because Davante Adams by himself, Aaron Rodgers by himself, I do think are a better combo than most teams we're going to face. So I think it's going to start and end with that. I also see the factor of us playing in Lambeau. That is historically we've never won there, so the odds are not good there. And the Cardinals, we have 2 shots at them. And again, Kyler's injured. For a guy that runs that much, an ankle injury is a very serious thing. So I am a little bit concerned about the Cardinals in that sense. No history of major playoffs recently. Kyler's injured. And you think J.J. Watt's going to last the whole season? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I thought didn't his season end? He's getting surgery on that shoulder, right?
Seriously?
Yeah. I thought he was going to be out, if not the season, at least for an extended period of time. Dude,
it's like clockwork, man.
So
every year he throws his body around, and unfortunately, I don't know how many surgeries he's had, but it seems like almost every year. Oh, my bad, Ed. You're right. Brockers is in Detroit now. You're right. My bad. The point is the Rams have a great defense, okay?
Right.
The Rams have a great defense. That was my point. Their pass rushers are the reason why Russell has a bum middle finger, right? Aaron Donald's helmet shouldn't be there when you follow through. It's not supposed to be there. Right. So, anyway.
Yeah, JJ's out for the season. That's what I thought. K. Vizon says. So, anyway. So, there's some things swaying, and injuries are going to be part of the game. We just got all our injuries in the beginning, right? I mean, we lost a ton of guys, including Russell, in this first half of the season. Chris Carson, so you're talking about your top, backs in quarterback and running back, and then we had our rookie wide receiver D. Eskridge out after not even a full game, and we haven't seen him. And so if we could possibly get all those 3 guys back in the same game, who knows? That's why I think the turning point potential could be there, but it's going to be tough. The starting at Lambeau is tough. So, but we'll see. The nice thing is we have this bye. We can soak it in for the first time. Having played these primetime games, we've had to sit through a Thursday night loss to the Rams and go a week and a half soaking in this terrible loss. And then we had to lose on Sunday night and then soak in this loss. So and that's nice to have 2 weeks here where we can soak in a win. So we're just going to soak it in. I don't care who it's against. Jacksonville Jaguars are not. Win's still a win, and they're always tough to come by. So, all right, well, let's pivot a little bit here, and I do want to give you a chance to talk a little bit about what you do, which is real estate. And we always finish the show talking a little bit about tips of the week. And the last time we did, we talked about making an offer, a competitive offer. So now you want to take it to that next step. What happens after that? So share with us what's the next step in the process once you've gone past the offer stage.
Right. So once you've made a competitive offer and you have your offer accepted, you're now in what's called mutual acceptance, which is where you and the seller have agreed to the contract. Every single page is initialed and or signed with your signature, and you can celebrate for the first time. Typically, a closing is from 30 days after that. So now you're in contract. So usually what happens next is this is where you're going to hire a licensed home inspector to go ahead and get into the property and inspect it for you. After you get the results, you can go back to the seller typically and start to negotiate whether you ask for the purchase price to come down a little bit or some closing cost credit, or you ask the sellers to repair something, or you say, we're good to go, let's just move forward. After the inspection contingency is over, then you move towards having your lender, if you're getting it financed, which most of us are, they'll go ahead and do an appraisal on the home. Once the appraisal results come back, then you're going to move towards closing, and that's when everything gets really exciting. And you can get keys in your hand, usually within 1 month of getting your offer accepted. So that's when we get to celebrate for the second time, hand you your keys and say, hey, Michael, we did it, buddy. And that's when it's very, very exciting. So after that, we'd like to throw you a nice housewarming party and get the party started. So that's the American dream, and that's the process for you. So thanks for letting me share that.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, you guys, my guest, Daniel Dovinh, not just a guest, but he is a proud supporter of my show, partner sponsor, and Dovinh Group and Marketplace Sotheby's. So if you guys are in the market to start thinking about real estate, purchase or selling, or if you know people who are, check Daniel Dovinh out. His link is in the description. Or if you just want to talk Seahawks, he's always ready to go for that as well. So I just want to ask you, how was your Halloween? I know you went to the game and had a great time. I don't know about you, but I rushed home. Because I had, the whole house decked out and the kids, getting ready to do their things. So I got home just in time for the kids to start showing up. How was your Halloween?
My Halloween was great. My little daughter, Lucy, she's almost 2. She's a little veterinarian, which is very cute. She had a little pet dog and her little stethoscope and doing her thing. And for me, I got to be a vampire, which was very exciting. I'm typically not a very fun Halloween guy, kind of boring, but I kind of went all out this year. A lot of blood, a lot of makeup, a tailcoat, kind of full-blown little widow's peak. Nice. So it was very exciting to spend time with fun people, and it was great, man. It was great.
Yeah, no, I had a great time. I was already kind of half dressed already because you might have seen from some of my pictures. I put my face paint during the game was a skull, so I just kept my whole outfit on. I was a skull Seahawk fan, whatever, Seahawk skeleton dude, NorbCam style. So I was just, mostly my kids are all they're older now because they're in high school, so they're kind of doing their own thing. But I was actually enjoyed having the kids come up because I'm going to show you. This is what I did for my house. I went all out. I always do something special for the neighborhood, but I had a lot of cool stuff on this one, so I had to do for this low-tech version. But if you can see it.
Oh, wow.
They go full screen here. So I got tombstones, and then I did projection on the screen on the garage door. Got this big 12-foot ghost in there. And yeah, so I did with projector with zombies busting out. It's got the music and sound effects going on. It's got the black light, the webs, and then the key final thing that freaks everybody out, the jumping spider down at the bottom. They step on the mat, and that spider jumps out at you. So that was fun. It's always fun to scare the little kids, but they had a lot of fun too. So the best part, I would stand on the sidewalk, and some dads would go by and go, "Well, that's pretty cool. Oh, that's pretty cool." And they go, "Yeah, I could do that, man. I could do that. I just get the projector out. And yeah, I could totally do that." So I was like, cool. I go, hey, you like it, huh? So it was great, though. We had a fun time. The kids loved it, too. So, all right. Well, I'm glad you had a great Halloween. I did, too, and hope all of you guys had a very happy Halloween. But, hey, man, let's enjoy this week. We got no game this week, so we can just kind of be spectators while the Seahawks heal up with Wilson. Got those pins out of his finger now, so he's on the mend. Hopefully, he'll be back in practice with the rest of the boys, and let's see if we can get the job done on in Lambeau next Sunday.
Let's go.
All right. Well, that's this episode of the Dive In with Dovin. We will catch you guys again next week to do it again and talk Packers more in depth. Until next time, you know how it is. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks, baby.